With Chile's presidential election less than 2 months away, let's expand on what the 40th anniversary of the coup means for Chile and where the Pinochet legacy stands today. Joining me now is Peter Hakim. He's a senior fellow for the Inter-American Dialogue, a center for political analysis here in the United States. Peter, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
You know, you have written widely on this dark era of Chile's history. We've seen mass protests in Chile's streets all over the country, education being just one of many issues. 40 years later, would you say that Chile is better off?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. Chile is prosperous now. The levels of poverty are way down. Education has improved. It's still not very good in Chile. There's great inequality in Chile still. There's a lot wrong with the country, but there's a lot wrong with almost every country. And no, Chile's made enormous strides. I don't think there's any question about that. And it's been well governed for the past, since Pinochet departed back in 1990. And oh, I don't think there's any question. Chile is one of the best managed countries in Latin America now. It's rising to the point where it's a country that's well managed internationally. And like I say, it has lots of deficiencies, shortcomings, but there's no question it's much better off than it was back in 1973.
Well, what do you say to all those people on the streets who may not totally agree with the positive picture you're painting, and with the thought that they're still, they still have a long way to go?
Well, I think they're absolutely right, and I think that the education system is a perfect model or a perfect mirror of lots of things that are wrong with Chile. The inequality in Chile is reflected in some people go to private schools, some go to public schools. The private schools are much better, a lot more is invested in them. It also ends up determining the kinds of jobs you have. And Chile ought to have much more social mobility than it does, and that relates to education. I think that by and large, what you're seeing among Chilean young people, among why they're protesting in the streets, I think Chile may have made getting ahead, earning large salaries as sort of the objective, growth, expansion, economic well-being, and I think it's left aside a little too much, the need also to satisfy lots of other needs, not only the social needs, but sort of cultural and sort of give meaning to life, etc. And that's very hard for any country to do, for any government to really begin to provide, you know, sort of for the whole person is very difficult. And the Chileans are demanding that, and that only happens when you reach a certain level of consumption, when you reach a certain level of well-being.
Well, we have a time for change. You know, there's a presidential election. We have about a minute left, but do you see things changing even more with a new leader come November?
Well, it's not a new leader. It's the president who was president just 4 years ago. Very popular president, well-liked, a very optimistic president. And I think that people are turning back to her because, in fact, she does seem to promise a still better Chile. And all indications, she left office with enormous popular support of 80%, and she's going into this election leading her rival by some 30 percentage points. So people are maybe looking forward, but they're also sort of looking back a bit, too.
All right. Peter Hakim, we appreciate your time. Thanks as always.